debate over President Trump's border wall has been focused on cost, but what about the land needed that is not already owned by the government? One route could be the use of eminent domain, a legal measure President Trump promoted while he was a candidate on the campaign trail. Watch.
Remember this about eminent domain. You become rich with eminent domain. If they take a corner of your property for a pipeline or a highway or something which they could never build without it, they pay you the market value of your property. You don't have eminent domain. You don't have roads. You don't have highways. You don't have anything. And by the way, you should be so lucky to get hit with eminent domain because you make a fortune. They pay you to take the property. If you don't have eminent domain, you can't build a road. You can't build a hospital. You can't build a highway.
Joining us right now is Jeremy Barnard, the general manager of the River Bend Resort and Golf Club in Brownsville, Texas. But you live right on the border right there. Jeremy, good to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Maria. It's a pleasure to be on.
We want to explain your situation. We're happy you're here. You are a supporter of President Trump, but the golf course that is owned by your family sits right where a border wall will likely be built. How much of your property is on the opposite side of the wall? How will you be affected personally by a border wall built?
Well, we haven't received any kind of notice from the government or Trump's team, but if it followed the same path that it did in 2006 when Bush built the fence, 70% of our 319 acres would be south of that wall and really impact our property and not only the business, but over 200 residents.
So 70% of your business is going to have to be, your property is going to have to be sold then, you're saying. You haven't heard from the government yet, but are you expecting the government to call you up to say, we're buying your property, 70% of your property?
We are anticipating to have some kind of dialogue with the U.S. government. With all how President Trump has been talking about the wall, we are expecting to be approached at some point. And yes, 15 of the 18 holes of the golf course will be swallowed up and be on the south side, the wrong side of the wall.
I've got two questions. The president's budget that was put out last week included allocations for 20 lawyers to handle cases just like yours over eminent domain. Are you prepared to do battle with government lawyers to keep your property? That's one. The other is, if you lose, are you going to turn this into a mini golf course because you only have 30% of it left?
You know, our family is very big on supporting the office of the president, whether it was Democrat or Republican, whether it was Obama or Trump. We support the office of the president. And so we want to support the initiative, and we want to be fair. But we are more than willing to lawyer up and make sure that we get our fair share if that has to go through. And then if it goes up, it's all going to depend on what does it look like, what kind of access do we have, are we still going to be able to function, or are we going to lose it completely?
Have you already been on the phone with lawyers? Have you talked to any?
Yes, we do have a lawyer that we have retained. And
what is he advising you so far?
Right now, we're business as usual. Like I said earlier, we haven't heard anything from the U.S. government or Trump's team, so it's purely speculation at this point. There's so many variables that go into what would it look like, what kind of access will we have. So right now we're going business as usual, and we're just preparing ourselves that if there is a fight, that we're prepared for it.
Yeah, what do you think, Alan?
Hey, yeah, this is Alan West, and you know, having been in the military, border security is a pretty important thing. But have you come up with some alternative designs that you could present to the Trump administration that shows that you can have this secure border wall, but also you can be able to facilitate it? And what are you willing to take as a risk for maybe being excluded from being a part of that wall?
Absolutely. Our end goal in this, if we have to have a dialogue, would be have President Trump come down and play the golf course. We have established a great relationship with Border Patrol and ICE over the last 2 years of owning the property, and we've seen a dramatic decrease in illegal activity with the use of boots on the ground and other equipment that they have. We actually have a boat ramp that they launch from. And so with the increased activity of the Border Patrol, we've seen a very good change in how the residents feel secure and everything. And right now we're also clearing some of the land on the bank so that the Border Patrol's visibility is better and that they can see along the banks and there's no hiding spots anymore.
You know, it's interesting because the president obviously famously known for his own golf courses. So you're a golf course manager yourself. How are you going to convince the president not to build that wall there? And also characterize what you see right on the border. Do you find that it's a porous border?
You know, I think I recognize that there is a security issue, where there is something that needs to be handled, and the wall can be a tool in some areas. But I believe in areas like our golf course, there's better tools that we can use, whether it's drones or boats or ATVs or boots on the ground. I think there's better options there. My goal would for President Trump to come and see what we have to offer, the uniqueness of being on the Rio Grande River and the beautiful views that we have. 7 of our holes are on the river, and it's just a gorgeous setting. And it's not just a family business that is being affected. It's 200 residents, it's 26 jobs, it's tax dollars to the community. We're a big part of our community, and so it would be an impact not just to us personally, but to the area around us.
Well, considering that President Trump, as a businessman, owns golf courses,
Yeah, exactly.
Jeremy is pulling at his heartstrings.
Right, exactly. So you should invite the president to your golf course and try to have this discussion with high-level government sources, or do you feel like maybe you don't want to bring it up right now because it's only going to accelerate the process and you're going to lose your property?
I think we would rather go ahead and have the conversation.
Yeah.
We are on the last 2 years spent master planning a lot of things, and we've got about $1 million worth of construction that we're wanting to pull the trigger on that is kind of in limbo until we figure out what we're going to do with this wall situation.
Wow.
So as a family, we're kind of ready to, let's have the discussion, let's get it over so we can figure out what the next step is for us.
Fascinating. Jeremy, I hope you'll come back and give us an update on how this all plays out. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Jeremy Barnard joining us there.